Today on Treasure Hunting America, we'll travel to the Mojave Desert to prospect for gold with Pat Keene of Keene Engineering.
You know, they say only 10% of all the gold has ever been found. Sometimes when you find something, there's no bigger thrill or better high than catching something that wouldn't have been yours, but you found it and it's a treasure and it is yours.
And we'll visit with Steve Johnson, who's only been hunting with a detector for 2 years, yet has found more gold than many old-timers.
It's sort of like a drug. I mean, once you find one, your next phase is I need a bigger one. And then after that, you're not satisfied, so you need to find a bigger one.
All coming up on Treasure Hunting America. Hello and welcome to another episode of Treasure Hunting America. I'm your host, Mark Hendricks. Pat Keene comes from a long line of treasure hunters, including his grandfather, who started Keene Engineering, a manufacturer of gold prospecting equipment. Pat hunts all over Southern California, and his favorite place to hunt for gold is in the Mojave Desert.
I got started in prospecting because my family was manufacturing equipment. And my family's been doing this type of thing for 3 or 4 generations. And I've always loved the outdoors and I've always loved to go camping. So it's kind of a natural to find something to do while you're out there having fun. But I've been detecting since I was probably 5 years old, and I really enjoy doing it. And over the years, I've found some treasure. I found a lot of neat old antiques. It's really exciting when you dig something up. You never know what you're quite finding until you actually unearth it and see it. And then sometimes it's even figuring out exactly what you're finding. Besides the metal detecting, I also do a lot of dry washing. That's where we're digging off material off the side of the canyon walls and throwing it into a concentrator, which shakes and separates the gold out. And also down in the streams and gullies and rivers, where in some cases we're actually diving in 8 to 10 feet of water, sucking up material and having the dredge concentrate it in what's called a sluice box. And it's just a great thrill at the end to pan out the concentrates and see that glitter of gold and have a good time while you're doing it. We're up at the Red Chispa mining claim right now. And this claim belongs to Prospectors Club of Southern California. And this has been a real good spot for us to dig up here. And if you look up on the hillside up here, you see a lot of old compacted riverbed material. And this is where an ancient riverbed once existed. And when all these mountains were thrusted up, it brought up all this riverbed material. And you can see you have 2 different types. You have the red dirt over on your right-hand side, and that's all part of an old volcanic mud flow. And over here to the left, you see what's called an old ancient riverbed, a tertiary channel, which is quite old. And all this stuff has been uplifted, and a lot of people have found a lot of gold up here, metal detecting and also dry washing. We use a lot of the metal detectors to find the locations and find a lot of the big nuggets, but a lot of the real small stuff that we can't detect with the detectors, we can shovel into the dry washers and collect a lot of the finer gold. And what we like doing up here is we dig into the hillside till we hit the bedrock, and all the riverbed channel that's sitting on top of the bedrock, it's super concentrated, and we find our gold sitting right on top of a caliche clay layer that once rested upon the bedrock. We're picking into this hillside here, and we're trying to loosen a lot of these bigger rocks out so we can make some bigger holes. We think there's good gold all through these layers, so what we're doing is we're breaking it down into rubble down below, and we're shoveling it in the dry washers, getting close enough to the bedrock so then we can take the metal detectors in and detect right on top of the bedrock, and we'll see what we find. What we're trying to do is break some of these big rocks out of here, and we know there's good gold right underneath the rocks. So if we can loosen these big rocks and get them out of the way, then we can get to the bedrock where we can detect. Yeah, we come up here about once a month, every 4th weekend of the month, and we go prospecting. And I think a little later my friend's going to show you close to a pound of gold that he found up in these hills up here. And not more than 150 feet away, my friend found a 3.5 ounce nugget. And imagine to find something like that to take home to show to your friends. It's pretty exciting.
When we return, Pat Keene will show us how to find gold with a dry washer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Treasure Hunting America. Pat Keene uses all methods available to hunt for gold, not only metal detectors, but also equipment that he designs and manufactures.
What you're looking at here, this is called a dry washer, which is basically a machine for concentrating dry material, which consists of a screen hopper up on top that screens all the smaller material, and all this classified material that's 1/2 inch and minus drops into what's called the concentrator tray. As the material drops down into the box here, as the board's vibrating, the gold gets trapped in behind these riffles here. And all the way down, you have these riffles. But when the air is going and you have a lot of vibration, it actually puts even this size rock into like a type of suspension, where it's actually riding on a cushion of air. Below the riffles, there's like a cloth board. And as the air passes through it, it creates like an air cushion. And if you have a nice level layer of material over here, it just kind of floats and separates out the light material from the heavies. All the gold gets caught right behind the riffles. We're going to pan out some of this in a few minutes and see if we found any gold in there. But I think first we're going to run a little bit more material. What we're doing is we're panning some of the concentrates from the dry washer. And this material is real muddy, and lots of times there's clay clumps, so we got to make sure we break it up real good. Little tiny clay balls contain some good gold sometimes. Well, we're getting right down to the black sands and the gold, if any. I'm seeing little tiny traces of gold. Not much lead or lead shot. Yeah, all I'm seeing is little tiny pieces of gold. I see maybe 5 to 10 little specks on this one. I think we might have to work a little harder. This particular area has been probably mined for a good 150 years. And throughout the times, some people have found a lot of gold, some big strikes have been made. You know, when people hear about a big nugget being found, just like people came to the gold rush in California, a lot of people flocked to that area. But it's also people all getting together and having a good time and enjoying a good, healthy, clean activity that they can go out and look for something and, hey, maybe strike it rich. Not bad. I think the biggest frustration of mining is not always finding something, even though you really enjoy doing it. You know, you're constantly striving to find something big and you don't always find it, but you know what, that's part of mining. It's really feast or famine. But as long as you enjoy going out and camping in the outdoors, it makes everything worthwhile. It's not so much how much it's worth, but how much worth it is to have the thrill and excitement of actually finding something and holding it in your hands and saying, hey, this is mine and I found it. I think it's real important that people enjoy activities and things like that, because it gives you a chance to get out and do some unusual things and meet a lot of neat people, and something you got to show off to some of your friends. That's pretty exciting. You know, when Other people see what you're doing and they see that you enjoy it. And I think that kind of reflects on them getting involved in it and what can they do, and they're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So it's a great activity for adults, for kids, for anyone. You know, rather than being stuck in the city all the time, dealing with not such great elements out here, you got nature, you got good friends, and a lot of fun finding the gold and stuff. Anyone can get started in going out and prospecting. You gotta read books, you gotta look at maps and find out where gold was. And maybe just pick up a gold pan to get started, go out there and see all the thousands of other people that are finding gold and talk to the guys that are out there metal detecting. Most of these people are pretty easygoing and they're always willing to share their information. You know, everyone loves to show off a little bit of gold or some of their little treasures that they find, or whether it's coins or gold. It's all about treasure hunting in a sense. You know, it's all about having the urge to go out and find something and the challenge behind it. This year especially is going to be a great year for gold prospecting because the rains have washed down a lot of material, and believe it or not, even in the middle of the desert here, there's a lot of big flowing rivers through here. The rain's dried up, but it sure has carried a lot of the material into the gullies. Even all over California, people are finding more gold than they've ever found in the past, due that all the rivers are up at flood stages and washing a lot of material down from the gullies and a lot of the bench plasters down into the streams.
When we return, Pat will take us hunting and show off some of his best nuggets.
This looks like a pretty good spot over here. Exposed bedrock with a lot of cracks and crevices in it. This is the kind of stuff I look for. Getting kind of a wavy tone. That's more of an iron tone, not a direct tone. Iron kind of gives you a wavy tone where gold gives you kind of like a direct hit. Like that's a direct hit right here. Squeeze the trigger. That might be a good target right there. It's either a piece of gold or a piece of lead. Let's check it out. Picking up my scoop a bit. Oh, that sounds like a good target. Get some of these rocks out of the way. This little tool I'm using is a tool I made myself. I wanted something lightweight that I could swing one-armed and also have the ability to get in there and dig out the area. This looks really good because I'm down into the broken bedrock. I like to move all the rocks out of the way, give my coil a nice smooth path to go over. So I'll kick out some of the rocks out of it and check it a little bit more here. See if I still hear it. And my iron reading is reading real high, like 70. So I think that's more or less junk. You just got to keep on moving around. There's a lot of trash that you got to dig up when you're looking for gold, but that's part of the thrill and excitement of finding it. These are some of the gold nuggets that I found. All this stuff here, believe it or not, was found probably within a couple of weeks. And I'll tell you, I got real lucky. This is probably one of my favorite gold nuggets that I found. The reason being is it kind of looks like a fist that's holding on to a bunch of blue quartz crystals. I found this piece at only a foot deep. And when I went over with the metal detector, I had a pretty good idea where it was because I was in an area that no one had probably been to in probably 150 years. And these are some of my other pieces. And I also like the real smooth ones, or ones that look kind of like butter. And this is another real nice piece. Real big, but real flat. And I got pieces from the desert, and I've even got a couple of platinum nuggets in here. platinum nugget looks just like a gold nugget, but it's kind of silverish. But it's just about as heavy as gold. And it's pretty exciting because platinum's even more rare than gold to find it in nature. If someone's interested in getting started in gold mining, the best thing to do is do research first. Read some books, look at the areas where gold was found in the past, and you go to the same areas and find gold where there's still plenty of gold today. You know, they say only 10% of all the gold has ever been found, but there's probably a great deal more than that. It just takes the desire to go out and look and the challenge behind it and see what you can do yourself.
With prospecting being such a part of Pat's life, his greatest pleasure is passing on his knowledge and skill to others just getting started in the hobby.
A bunch of us prospectors kind of got together and we wanted to help teach new people and get the word out that, hey, there's still gold out there, that it's not all found. We started a prospecting club. There's a lot of us guys that are pretty experienced in the group, and we're always willing to take the time out and help people and show them how they can find gold. And it's always a great feeling, and it's great to see them, how excited they get when they have a little bit of a vial of gold. It's a great chance to meet new friends and get their families involved and get kids and older people involved. It just gives a chance for people who have never done it to kind of get away from the city, come up into the hills and see what nature's about and see the different types of equipment that are used for prospecting and take their chance of finding some gold, but having a real good time while they're doing it.
When we return, Steve will share his impressive gold nugget collection and share about the special relationship he shares with his metal detector. Welcome back to Treasure Hunting America. Compared to many treasure hunters, Steve is relatively new to the hobby, but his luck in finding gold nuggets has made him the envy of many old-timers.
First off, I was prospecting for opal, and then I wanted to do something a little different. And I saw a prospecting magazine on gold, and I wanted to go out and find large nuggets. And I went to Keene Engineering and bought a good detector, and it sat for probably a year, and then I went up north and went to this camp and found a couple of nice nuggets. It's just a lot of fun to get out and walk a lot. It's good exercise. It's cut my cholesterol down. It's a thrill of the hunt, really. It's just not knowing what you're going to find. And once you get a really good signal, your heart starts pounding, and there's nothing really like it. And you meet a lot of different people, good people. Prospecting people are, the best people around.
The hobby of gold prospecting can yield some terrific financial results, but as Steve found out, it also can work wonders for a person's health.
The benefit mostly has been getting my cholesterol cut down, if you can believe that or not. I was on Zocor, and then I got off of that because it was too expensive. And then I got into this prospecting, and then 2 years later I went to have a physical, and he calls me up on the phone, and he can't understand why my cholesterol count is so low, and it's not because my diet didn't change. I finally figured it out like 2 hours later because of all the walking that I've done. Sometimes you walk 2 or 3 miles a day, maybe even more. You don't know because you're just so tuned in to the hunt. So that's a benefit, absolutely. This nugget I found on New Year's Eve 2 years ago. I had to get out, so I told my wife I needed to get out for a couple hours. And I drove up to Chispa. So I got out of my truck, I walked over with my detector, and the first signal I got was one of those signals that you just love to hear, nice and soft, real sweet. At about 2.5 feet, the signal became so loud, it was like vibrating in my machine. So I decided, just keep digging, and finally there wasn't a target down in the hole. And I looked at the pile, my little tailing pile that I thought was just going to be a big piece of steel or something. It turned out to be this nugget. This one we call it a bear nugget. It looks a little bit like a bear nugget. This was a special find also. because the place has been detected a lot. I think a lot of people get frustrated with their machines because they don't understand what they're doing at the beginning. So going out and meeting people that will teach you what you need to hear and where your machine needs to be tuned and balanced out. I've done it a lot. I've helped a lot of people do that with their machines because it took me probably a year before I really felt comfortable with my machine. You do become part of the machine. That's a fact. It's true. I mean, especially when you pull up a good-sized nugget, you know, you just want to hug your machine and go, that's cool.
With a few years now under his belt, Steve has learned several great lessons about being a successful prospector.
You want to be real confident in what you're doing, and you will become successful, but you have to believe that. Confidence is real tough. I had a tough time with it. But then I became real confident in knowing what I'm going to find. A lot of people go out thinking they're going to find lots of gold first day or the first week, and they rush out and they just keep rushing. You've got to be really, really patient, extremely patient to find gold. Read some books, know their geology, know where places where gold has been found, and go there and take your time.
With patience on his side, Steve looks forward with anticipation in finding his dream nugget.
The dream I always have is just coming up with like Ty Paulson's 13-pound nugget. I mean, and he only found that 18 inches deep. But then again, I'd have it for a while, I'd look at it and go, okay, I need a 20-pounder now. But that's just the way this hobby is. It's nasty. They're just not ever big enough.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Treasure Hunting America. Join us next time as we explore more real-life stories of people finding treasure all over the country. I'm Mark Hendricks, and until next time, happy hunting! Treasure Hunting America is sponsored by White's Electronics, manufacturers of the world's finest metal detectors. For over 50 years, White's has been building metal detectors in the USA for treasure hunters around the world. For more information, visit their website or call the number on your screen.